Hello and welcome to the special memorial service for Gabriel Victor Hoffman. It is May the 6th, 2019, and it is such an honor and a pleasure to have you all here join us. I'm sure you're joining us here today because Gabriel meant a lot to you, and he meant a lot to everyone here on the line today. We are going to be hearing from mentors, friends, and family of Gabriel, and share just what an incredible and special life that he led. My name's James Maskell. I'm Gabriel's business partner, friend. He is the godfather to my daughter. It also happens to be my daughter's 6th birthday today. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity to share some of my experience with him, but I will leave that to a little bit later. So first up, I would love to welcome Alee Hoffman, Gabriel's sister, to start sharing. Welcome, Alee, and thanks for being here.
Heather, thank you everybody who's sharing this space with us. I'm Gabe's sister. As James said, it was as awesome as you could imagine. If you thought it would have been cool for Gabe to be your brother, you were right. And I want to actually just start, we're in a very sacred window right now. 2 Mondays ago at about this time is when Gabe passed away. And it's interesting to me because I had created a story. Last Monday was not a good day for me. And I had created this new thing where now on Mondays at this time, I was just going to shut down and I was going to close up, and Monday, I was going to have a case of the Mondays for the rest of my life, I decided, and I was going to just create a very closed experience on Mondays, especially around this time. And of course, I suddenly realized this is when we're doing it, and this is when I would be speaking. And that was actually, this is how we honor Gabe, because as you know, there's something with Gabe's heart. And Gabe had the biggest heart and the strongest heart and the most beautiful heart that I know of. And he kept it open. And so the way I actually can honor him on Mondays is not to close my heart, but to keep it open. And Gabe kept it open for 21 years of a lot of experiences and daily disciplines and challenges that I don't know that even people watching might even realize the amount of discipline and dedication Gabe had to have every day to say yes to his life and the many health journeys. And in fact, he kept his heart open every day, even with what was going on with his heart. And he kept his heart open to the very community and opened his heart and transformed the very community where his source of trauma and fear was. So I now realize this is the most perfect way to honor him. And so as we're in this sacred window, there's a couple other things I want to share, but I want us to just first connect with our heart in honor of Gabe right now. So let's just take a couple breaths here. And let's just drop into our heart with a couple breaths and just notice maybe your heart was feeling a little closed, a little sad. And just see if you might be able to open your heart a little bit more with the next couple of breaths. One more breath to just feel your heart open for Gabe. And then drop into your heart and just feel the blessing or the love that's there for Gabe. I know if you're on this, you have something in your heart for Gabe. Just feel it. And with the next exhale out, let yourself send it to Gabe's spirit, to his journey, to his new identity on this new realm. Beautiful. And as we inhale in, just Gabe is blessing you. Gabe is here. And let yourself breathe in what Gabe gave you in his life here, what Gabe has brought you in the time you knew him. Breathe that in and then bring that into your heart. And let's just take a moment of silence in this sacred window together when Gabe transitioned. One more breath here. Feeling our gratitude for Gabe, for his open heart. All of this happened because Gabe kept his heart open. Thank you, Gabe. Okay, and I'm going to speak a little bit, but you just stay in whatever space you're in right now with your heart. Gabe always felt like, so Gabe was my older brother by 3 years, but he actually has always felt like my twin. And it felt like he was a twin that decided to come down a little early and welcome me. He always welcomed me into every part of his life with an open mind and an open heart since the day I was born. And I know that's who he was to his friends, his family, his clients, his colleagues. He welcomed you into his heart. He patiently taught me from the time I was born and all of us, all the ropes. He was excited and passionate about a lot of things. He was passionate about functional medicine and Qigong, but he was also passionate about fantasy football and and the Knicks and being a detective when he was a little kid. He was a detective. He had a little business when he was a little kid. He was always passionate about many things, and he always patiently figured out the rules, knew the linear blueprint of how everything worked, and then he would patiently teach you the ropes. He patiently taught me the ropes, and then gave you full permission to be wherever you were at. So that was always our relationship. Gabe welcomed me in. We together have been on this journey of healing and transformation in our lifestyle and in our business, and he welcomed me into that, and then he let me do my own weird version of it and totally honored it. Gabe had incredible devotion and discipline, as we've already discussed today. I mean, even in the last few years, the hours of Qigong while running this business, but his whole life, he did things. He recovered from brain surgery this summer, not many people know about, and while building this amazing company that we're going to talk more about today that's happening. I mean, Gabe just every day was in a deep service to his purpose. And he didn't even really talk about it. And so there's a beauty for me right now in finally getting to express. I think there was a way we couldn't always talk about these things because we just had to keep it moving. And so there's a beauty and a peace in talking about it right now. He also always stayed grounded. He kept his best friends from when he was little around him his whole life. He stayed in the enjoyment of being a human being, even though he was otherworldly. And so I hope what we all take from this is that we're not here to do this on a mountain. You know, Gabe was my favorite person to learn and grow with spiritually, but he was also my favorite person to take a road trip and listen to Howard Stern with, and to go out to dinner with, and to laugh with. And that is mastery to me. That is true mastery on the human plane. Gabe let whatever was happening love him, and he let himself always feel like the solution, not the problem. And he taught other people to feel like the solution and not the problem, and to let the circumstances love them. This last year was like by far the hardest year of my life. It felt like everything fell apart, and I understand now it was because we were coming into the momentum of this. And what it all added up to was having more time in person with my brother than we've gotten to have in 10 years. And we appreciated every moment of it. Even though some of these things were very challenging, we just kept celebrating how great it was to be together. And so there's no regrets there. We never held back. And I hope Gabe teaches us all, just don't hold back on what's in your heart. Like, just keep it flowing, because then there's nothing to regret, because you didn't save anything. And especially this last year, even though I'm so upset about this, obviously, it's like I see this year that he was wrapping up. I see what he tirelessly did, even while recovering from the brain surgery and all these other things. He's on the phone. He's making these companies happen. He's directing things. He's honoring people. He's reaching out to family. He made sure all his close friends were down at this new apartment. He made choices that were hard for people, but he knew were his truth. He made sure to be in total service to the completion of his life, even though I wish it was longer.
I see how he made sure the legacy would continue. And I see what he did in this last year to make sure that happened. He wrapped up any loose ends. And that's the other thing I want to say is that Gabe, as we know, wasn't worried about length of time. He was worried about impact. But if you also know Gabe, he did not rush himself. He took his time always. And so I have to trust that he took his time here, that he did not rush his life, that this was perfection, even if it's a perfection that it's a real discipline to keep my heart open to right now. And the final thing I just want to say is that Gabe had 2 questions he would ask to get me or anybody else out of a spiral. So the first one, because Gabe was my person, literally my whole life. I'm on a new planet where I can't make him swoop in and fix me anymore, but or I guess in a different way. But when I would go into a spiral and I'd be this and that is wrong, he would interrupt me and say, what do you want? And usually if you're in the spiral, you've totally lost sight of what you want. Gabe was very rarely in that spiral because he never lost sight of what he wanted. He was very clear always on what he wanted, and he took his time to get there, and he did it right. He made sure whatever he did would be sustainable long after he left. And the second thing, and he said this a lot to people after the election a few years ago, and I know a couple people have brought it up already. Who are you when you don't get what you want? So those were Gabe's 2 questions always. What do you want? Who are you when you don't get what you want? I think we're all having to sit in, we did not want this, and who are we going to be? I had a whole story that I can't do my life without Gabe, and I'm having to literally rearrange my entire identity. And I know he's very proud of us because who we are all being, because we just did not get what we just wanted on a big level. And Gabe had to live in those 2 polarities all the time to be really clear on what he wanted, and to, more than he admitted to any of us, to be honest with himself about all the things he was not getting that he wanted. And those are the 2 places you live in when we're on this planet. And Gabe lived in those 2 places with such mastery, and it gave him a backup plan to keep his heart open. That's how he could keep his heart open, because he knew what he wanted and he knew how he wanted to be if he didn't get what he wants. And that's what I learned from being Gabe's sister. And I think that actually a lot of us learned that from just being around him. And so I just thank you all for letting me share that. And I just want to take one more breath here with all of you. Just feeling the gratitude and the love. And I send that all out to all of you. And I thank you for recognizing who my brother was and not wasting any time when we had it with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Alee. Really beautiful tribute, and so many pieces that resonate so strongly with myself, and I'm sure with everyone else who's here today and everyone who's watching. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for being his partner on this.
So, Gabe lived his first few years in Huntington, Long Island, came across some health challenges, and after the relapse of, and he took a much more empowered viewpoint towards health. And the next step on his journey was to enroll in the Institute of Integrated Nutrition, which in those days was an in-person program in New York. And at that time, he began his mentorship with Joshua Rosenthal. And in the years before I met Joshua, I heard so much about him through Gabe, and I know that it made his relationship with Joshua made a big impact on him, and I was thrilled in the last year of his life that was able to be a lot closer and connected. So Joshua, great to have you here on the line. I'd love for you to share next.
Thank you. We all miss Gabe greatly. Gabe helped so many people over the years, always seeking to understand where they were coming from, where they were trying to get to, and had a skill to help bend the arc of their future towards the light, towards the love. He had a huge heart and always cared so much about every person he met. Gabe's strength carried many people for many years. In fact, the name Gabriel is Hebrew for angel of strength. I appreciate his kind parents, especially his mother Gina, who's on the call today, for having the foresight to recognize what a strong soul he would become. They knew that at birth. Gabe was a beautiful spirit who deeply desired to transform healthcare so people could reduce their costs and have access to live a healthy and happy life. In recent times, he loved living in South Beach in Miami. Gabe enjoyed the sun and the ocean, being able to do his Qigong in the morning. Miami was like his second home, his home away from home. He had visited here so many times with his parents, with his dearly loved sister, Alee. He was very, very happy to be here. And I guess on some level, this is where he chose to pass away. We love you, Gabe, very much.
Thank you, Joshua. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I knew Gabe loved being in Miami, and right toward, at the end was a favorite place of his. And yeah, it's a lovely, lovely tribute. So on the other side of the Institute of Integrated Nutrition, Gabe was looking for local mentorship in Huntingdon and came across a man, Lenny Izzo, who's on the line here today. And I'll share a little bit about my experience with Lenny after Lenny has his turn here. So Lenny, great to have you here. And I know Gabe had a pretty significant impact on your life.
Thank you, James, and everyone who's here. Yes, Gabriel, and I loved calling him Gabriel. I remember I would always smile and say, Gabriel, you realize how large you really are. And he would admit it in that moment, yeah, Doc, we're all big, much bigger than we think. And that was a hallmark of our relationship. I remember when he left your school, Josh, and he came in to the center, I was looking for someone to work with me. I decided to expand what I was doing in Centerpoint. And actually right now I'm here. Gabe and I have probably spent thousands of hours in this room, this classroom. And he stood up here many times, and we'd be here one-on-one many hours, laughing, crying, hugging each other, creating the next step, working through whatever two men would work through that loved each other. And I wasn't just Gabe's mentor. In many ways, he grew to be mine. He would always bring something new. Gabe was a bridge from here to there. And he had the skills, Joshua, like you said, that ability to arc worlds, to arc relationships, to arc what's happening in a person's being with their mind. And as you said, Alee, with what do you really want? That is wisdom. And the moment I met Gabe, it was in our pharmacy. He walked in, and he walked in just as you described him, James. Wasn't quick, kind of sashayed in, and we shook hands. And in that moment, we touched an agreement together that at some level we both knew, and kind of developed that through the years. But at that time, I had a large pharmacy. I was full into functional medicine, and there was a large inventory. And he had just come from Joshua's school and training, and he is trained a certain way. And basically his belief system was it's all through lifestyle, through good nutrition, through food. And here I show him a large pharmacy of products, and we're both standing there, and I'm looking at him. And I knew there was a disturbance in the force because he was trying to wrap his mind around it, and he was honest. We went into my office and he said, I don't know much about this, Doc, and but I'm willing to learn. And Gabe was such a learner, which added to how he actually taught others and taught them through his compassion, certainly his wisdom, his perseverance, but mostly, Alee, as you pointed out, and a lot of people don't know, through his own hero's journey, through his own struggle. And Gabe, as you said, created the disciplines he needed to be the man that he came here to be. And I am so grateful to have touched some of those stages with him. And I recall when Gabe left, it was about after three and a half years together. And we had built what we built. We had gotten into network marketing together. I remember when I walked into his office that day and I'd gotten a phone call, and I'd never done anything like that, but Spirit said, just do this. And I walked in, I said, Gabe, we're doing this. He goes, all right, I don't know what it is, but let's do it. And we built a huge organization, Gabriel and I and a few others. And we always spoke later after that was an intro for both of us, particularly what Gabe went on to and provide, what he was providing, that entrepreneurship. You know, I would call him the entrepreneur healer. And he opened up a range in himself which went beyond conventional healing. And that was the bridge that he was always crossing in himself. And he would never cross alone. There were always people in his world that he connected with. As busy as he got, Gabe was always supporting others to connect with their true self. Who are you? What do you want? And who are you when you don't get it? Two very poignant questions. One of the experiences I've had with Gabriel is quite unusual. As long as I've known Gabe, in every moment, Gabe never showed up as a victim. Never once did he show up with me as a victim. That in itself is an extraordinary piece of humanity. He felt many things. He had his struggle. He had his fears to meet. Every stage of his evolution could never be figured out, but he met it when he left here, and how he went into this small contracted office, which was here. He left 2,400 square feet and went into a small one room. And he was sharing with me how much he enjoyed that concentrated space. And what he was doing was preparing for his next step, which took him to Manhattan. And in Manhattan, James, it all opened up. That's where you two met. And that whole story, there's no way we could possibly talk about the synchronicity of my relationship with you and your family, and what goes back to a community. It's all about community. It was always about community for Gabriel. So he was always in his struggle consciously. And yes, he would come across very clear with people because Gabe was always doing his work. As long as I've known him, he was always doing his work. And he, in his work, was always discovering that hero to be at the next level. The way his life circled back with you, James, and Functional Medicine Forum, and what you both have created, the bridge that you both have opened up, the gate to that bridge, that's just opening right now in 2019. And then Joshua, the way he circled back with you, we would smile together at it and feel the significance of relationship and community. Gabe knew that he was here to open up the new paradigms in health and healing. He knew that. And he knew that he was here to open it up because of his own hero's journey. And his life, as I look at it now, because he's invited us to pause and look back a bit. And yeah, I can look back, and I've been in moments of sadness. I am going to miss my brother. And I want to feel that. And I also know that the joy and celebration of new life that Gabriel has brought to so many people, new life through community, new life through touching individuals in the way he has, and the field of influence that Gabriel has. And Master Mingtong, when he touched in with you, how he would share that with me, he would share it by teaching me. Doc, you got to do this. I know you've done some Qigong, but not like this. Doc, let me teach you this. And we would practice together and have so much joy. When we came together, it was just always pressing that threshold, whether we were in a conversation over dinner, whether we were working with each other, whether it was by phone. Gabriel and I, what he offered to me was the invitation to always press that threshold. And yeah, I was a bit surprised. And at one level, Alee, when you called me, there was a voice in me that said, of course, of course. So there's that bridge that Gabriel still holds between this world, which can't be figured out, and the next world that can only be accepted and received through the heart. When Gabe went through this warrior weekend for men that a number of years ago, I introduced him to, and we were part of that community, he came out, and the name that he accepted because of the work for that weekend was so fitting. Fierce Lionheart. Fierce Lionheart with joy to reveal for others. Gabriel knew his mission. And what a privilege to be here in this moment, to feel the loss of my brother, my friend, my colleague. Yeah, I am saddened that I will never have the opportunity to embrace Gabe. I can see him walking through the door right now. That smile, we embrace. And in that moment, in those moments, that's my relationship that each of us have shared with him in our own personal way. So thanks, James, and for all of you. Each one of us is such a gate to what Gabe has created and continues. And in this next 5 weeks, like you said, Alee, I know each Monday, a number of us are still in this space because his transition continues and his legacy continues and his memory continues. Gabriel, my brother. We are still together. Thank you, James, and everyone else.
Thank you, Lenny. I know just what a profound impact you had on his life, and you know, the connection with Lenny is actually a big reason why Gabe and I connected. You know, I haven't really spoken about this before, but you know, I grew up in a spiritual tradition, and my parents were connected into a community that Lenny was a part of. And when I first came to New York, I had a kind of a secret knowledge of a few people in the integrative space who had been part of that tradition. And I knew about Lenny. I knew about, you know, Lenny was known in that community as an incredible healer, as someone who could facilitate attunement with his hands in a way. And I knew that about Lenny from my parents. And when I came to New York and came into Lenny's office for the first time, everything felt very familiar. And that was when I, you know, first came across Gabe. I missed our first appointment, my first sales call, because I pulled out because I didn't really know how to drive in the snow, and I had to drive from New Haven, Connecticut. And that was like, I don't know, sometimes with relationships that really mean a lot, the first meeting can be, sad. I've had that a lot of times in my life, or there's not a click, but that's part of long-term connection. So I met Gabe, and we were in agreement right from the beginning. I shocked him one night in New York when I shared with him kind of who I was and where I'd come from, and the fact that he had never met. He thought that he was the only person of our age that knew anything to do with this. And when I shared with him who I was and where I'd come from, we had a unique connection right from the beginning. Over those first few years, way before the Functional Forum, I introduced him to Arul from Santa Vita, and he started to run this clinic in Union Square for a number of years. And that was really, where we learned a lot of what ended up becoming the Functional Forum and the Practice Accelerator. We had a lot of fun times. As Alee said, he loved the Knicks. One of my greatest gifts that I ever gave that I'm super thankful for and proud of was allowing him to lay on the floor of Madison Square Gardens on the Knicks logo. That photo, I know, is one of Gina's favorites to this day. That was incredible. Yeah, just coming into New York, New York holds a certain energetic resonance for the rest of the world. You can't watch a movie or anything without seeing just what an impact it makes. And we knew that the two of us in agreement in that place was a really special agreement, a special time. There are so many things that we did together that he was the only witness of. Some of it was witnessed on YouTube and meetup groups around the world, but some of it was just witnessed between him and I in the shadows. And I'm thankful to have had that time. He did have a lot of discipline. It required discipline. I realized that had my life gone the way that his life had gone, I'm not sure how I would have dealt with it. And I had so much respect for him for dealing with his life in the way that he did and dealing with the challenges in the way that he did. I never had those kind of challenges. But the number one trait that I recognize in Gabe, which I know that I'm going to miss for the rest of my life, is his discernment. He was such a great listener, and he could tell who was a real person, who was a fraud. He could tell in conversations, he could listen so clearly. And we would be on phone calls together with potential partners or doctors or anyone who was in our community. And he had that person worked out in 3 seconds. And that discernment, I hope, led to a lot of what's possible thus far and a lot of what's possible in the future. Some part of it I do agree with is that Gabe maybe did what he was here to do and set us all up for a future that we can't yet imagine. 2 weeks ago, I was driving in Costa Rica and Joshua called me. And my first reaction wasn't profound sadness. It's taken a while for that to come through. The first reaction was a stealing towards the mission that we are here for. We were in agreement about that. We will remain in agreement about that. I'm still here, and I know that the karmic currency that Gabe developed in the world has not been cashed in and will continue to be cashed in over the next few decades with his words, with his wisdom, some of which I took, some of which I didn't take. But I'm excited about the next few decades because Gabe's energy and Gabe's wisdom runs through me and so many other people on this call. we did amazing things in the last 10 years together. It's almost 10 years exactly since we became friends. 5 years since the beginning of the Functional Forum, 2 years since the beginning of New Health. Man, we put a dent in the universe. And there's a long way to go. And my promise to you, Gabe, and to everyone else here on this line, we're just getting started. And we're here for the transformation of consciousness. We've got a platform to facilitate it. Gabe's early discernment in working out the platform is absolutely crucial. And I'm not stopping. And I appreciate our fun times together. I appreciate him as a witness. I appreciate his discernment. I appreciate his discipline. And I appreciate the love that he shared to me and to so many other people, sometimes overtly and sometimes in the shadows, but it was always there. So for the first 5 years, Gabe and I did a lot of work, in the shadows, getting ready for the next step. But February 2014 was sort of like the transition point, and that was the first Functional Forum in Helen Mills. And I want to invite Kelly to share. That was the first night that we all connected. Over the years, there were many times that we came together in agreement. I really, from all the Functional Forum stuff through Powder Mountain and Charles Eisenstein, and all the way through to Mingtong. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Kelly.
Thank you, James. And I want to just extend my love to everyone on the call and to everyone who will watch this. It's such a testament to someone's depth of humanity when everyone, who's speaking about them is essentially saying the same thing, whether you were, his sibling, his, partner, best friend, or mentor. And I know that we'll hear echoes of the same sentiments. And I'll be brief because I have a lot of issues with death. And in this way, Gabe continues to be an unlikely teacher for me. And it's for the reason that James described, because, James and I have a lot in common. And James, I was just saying that we have a lot in common. And, we're seekers, right? And we're solution-oriented people. But I'll go so far as to say that James and I bring this energy perhaps to the movement from a very particular energy, right? And we really need somebody like Gabe as an anchor. And I'm just listening to this and I'm realizing one of the many ways that he was different from so many of us activists and so many of us on the mission is that, like Lenny said, he really, I believe, loved himself. I really think that he did. And that's such a unique quality. I wonder actually if I have anyone else in my life, who does. And that sense of connection to his soul, that sense of connection to himself, allowed him to be, like Alee was saying, somewhere between heaven and earth, somewhere deeply grounded, but also super expansive. And I would absolutely echo what James said about the discernment and also this receptivity, So I think for many of us, he was like a very trusted source of guidance. And I remember that last year when he had the surgery, and anyone who knows me knows the vitriol I feel around, any kind of intervention, conventional intervention, whether it's pharmaceuticals or surgery. And I really had to go through something with him because I trust him so deeply and trust his judgment so deeply that for somebody like that to make a decision that I, on the surface, didn't agree with was very powerful teaching for me and allowed me to soften in a way that ultimately translates to a kind of love of myself, and this is, I think, what he ended up teaching. And I think his passing is yet another example of that, for me, death of a loved one is just a bad thing. it's just a bad thing and I don't want it to happen. And it's very, very hard for me to connect to the meaning, you know, even though I know it intellectually. And so he's doing it again because I think so much of what he honored, I think you all would agree, is like the mystery, you know, like I think he really honored the mystery of life. Like I think he really got off on that. Like he's very into that. And whether it was in pursuit of, you know, Kundalini or hours of Qigong, or like, let's not forget the like eat how much ice cream and pizza and like anything you want thermoregulation diet he was on. So whatever it was, he just brought this incredible curiosity, but from this place of honoring like a deep kind of mystery. And that's really what wisdom is, right? I'll let you confirm that, Mingtong. But I take with me and will continue to take with me just what it feels like to be guided by, to have the companionship of someone, and to also in many ways be taught by somebody who was so incredibly humble, so incredibly, you know, comfortable behind the scenes, yet really pulling a kind of weight that I think we're all going to feel, a bit of groundlessness without his presence. And I'll close with the very important fact that Gabe is the reason that my littlest daughter, Lucia, walks around the house going, all the time. He is the reason I know Mingtong, the reason I have a practice, and the reason that my children are fascinated by the organ sounds, because when Gabe told you and suggested that you might consider doing something, it had a gravity that wasn't from other sources. And I'm just incredibly grateful to have crossed paths with him, and send all of my blessings to all of you and his family.
Thank you, Kelly. Really appreciate the insight and your thoughts. And yeah, I mean, if we go chronologically, you know, our time as we moved into the functional forum and our work together, you know, was really the sort of transition of Gabe into, you know, working a lot more in Qigong and you know, we called our business the evolution of medicine because we realized that, you know, we wanted to evolve conventional medicine to functional medicine, but it would also give us room to take functional medicine where we saw that it needed to go towards energy medicine and you know, it's Gabe diving into Qigong and taking it so seriously and having that discipline towards it was, you know, sort of like he was the forerunner into that next phase. We had done energy medicine stuff in the past, but we really saw that Qigong was you know, something that was easy for everyone to activate, and so few barriers to entry, really community focused. So I'd love to offer the opportunity for Grace to speak. Grace, I know that you connected with Gabe and had some mutual impact, and I know that Alee was very keen for you to participate. So thank you for being here, and I'd love for you to share.
Thank you, James. So I met Gabe in January of 2016. So I haven't known him for long, but I feel like I've known him for decades. Gabe came to me when he was approaching an unfamiliar terrain around his career, health, and relationship. And we dove into some subconscious and superconscious work and untangled and rewired some incredible, powerful stories together. I feel truly honored to have been a witness of those landmarks in his life. And in our first meeting, one of the things that I always encourage my clients to do in the very first meeting is to do something that has nothing to do with what they want to work on. Something that is absolutely liberating, that feels fun. And I asked Gabe what that was. And he said he recently came across Qigong, Mingtong's video. And in Kundalini Yoga, usually we start out with a commitment, a challenge to practice something for 40 days straight. So I gave him that challenge and he ran with it. He dove into it fully. And he started to, like what everyone had shared, when he learns, he starts to teach. And he started to, in his practice, he started to tackle some of his most challenging and fulfilling things on his bucket list, and started to really fulfill the milestones in his company and his relationships and meet his fears head on. And more importantly, through all the work, one of the most important thing that I got to really witness was how his heart started to really blossom, and he started to take refuge in his heart. And there was a sense of this birthing of judgmentlessness, this lightheartedness. I mean, judgmentlessness in everything in his life, from people to events to business to situations, and this absolute beauty in, I think, what Kelly called self-love. And Gabe went to the next level in self-love. There was no separation in loving himself. In his practice, there was this unison in his heart through the grid of our earth, the grid of the cosmic grid, and this entire life force. He became one, and there was this absolute beautiful unison. And you know, we come onto this journey as human beings to liberate our hearts, to live the human experience in the liberation of our hearts to ascend. And he lived that. He was continually liberated through his heart as he shared, as he stretched himself, as he surrounded himself with the world that he wanted to experience. And that was truly amazing to witness. And towards the end, we became very great friends, and he would encourage me to do likewise, to encourage me to seek mentors, to surround myself with the world that I wanted to experience. And Gabe was constantly this vortex of abundance and generosity and community and absolute humor. And I think Kelly had mentioned earlier that her daughter goes around making the kidney sound of and when he first came across the sounds of the organ, we were having lunch in a crowded restaurant, and he started to make these sounds, and he was unabashed. He was just so free. He would be making the sound as we were having lunch in a crowded restaurant and making the sound of and I had to put my hands up. No one is getting molested here. And he had such a playful spirit of sharing, and the gratitude that I feel in my heart, and what he teaches me in death, every day through death, as I am able to have conversations with him, he anchors me and roots me in life, the truth of life, what's important in life daily, and into that lion heart, into my heart, into the cosmic heart, into the practice. And my partner had asked me what Gabe was like and how do I express to someone who Gabe is. He's in all of our hearts and minds in so many colors. And we each have our own memories of Gabe and histories. And we're here today because we love him in various shapes and forms. And these are some of the ways that I loved him and love him and still learn every day through his enthusiasm and curiosity and eagerness for life, and to share what he's learned and what he's experienced, and to share that in such generosity through an open heart and such unabashed, uninhibited, unapologetic way of sharing what he learned. So I'm just very honored to be here, to be able to share my experience with him, with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you for sharing, and appreciate you sharing and being in. You know, the tapestry of the relationships that Gabe had is beautiful to see, and how he meant so much to so many people in sometimes in different ways. It's really beautiful to see. All right, so next we have Johanna Lynn on the line, and Johanna had worked with Gabe as in family constellation therapy and some unique avenues. So thank you, Johanna, for being here. I'd love for you to share.
Thank you, James. It's great to be here. Oh, my heart just feels like it's blasting open to be around so many people who love Gabe. And I agree that I'm sure I'll echo many of those same sentiments. I feel so grateful for Alee. She was the one that connected us. Gabe and I share a birthday, and she thought, geez, the two of us just have to meet. And similar to you, Grace, I connected with Gabe at a time when a lot was up for him around relationship and health and career, all those big parts in all of our lives. And I'll have this beautiful memory forever of the three of us in this beautiful park in San Diego on a gorgeous sunny day. And even though all the wisdom Gabe has, he just went into this with such curiosity and openness. That we got to traverse these beautiful places together. It is just one of the most beautiful experiences I've had to date. And as I'm thinking, anyone who knows the Hoffman family really understands that, you know, Gabe, I really feel, brings the very best in Gina, the very best in Chuck, his dad, and he brought that forward into all the ways that he contributed in his life. All the beautiful things that we're hearing about him come from this, you know, connectivity with his family. And I'm sure anybody that would see him and Alee together would just have this vision, I guess, of what they could have with their own siblings, because there was just such a heart connectedness and such ease that any one of us would want more of that. And as I've been learning about Qigong, it's just this amazing element of what else it can bring. Learning about the 3 A's yesterday, and we did a little practice around what pieces or what parts for how Gabe has influenced us did we want to bring forward into our lives. And I thought, what a beautiful way to celebrate him and continue on what he's brought into all of our lives. And so for me, that felt like I just admired his resilience and such respect for what he was up against and how he handled it. So that question that Alee brought forward about who are you when you don't get what you want? Man, did he walk with grace and strength and resilience in that question. It's just, you know, wow. Something else that struck me with him is his humble confidence. There was a sense, and even as you would lean in to have a conversation, he really knew himself. Yes, he really loved himself. And there was something so magnetic about that. And there was never ego attached. There was always this soft humbleness that was all about curiosity and leaning in, even though you could tell there was such wisdom and strength there. And so I know for sure my perspective in life is better off for having crossed paths with Gabe. And whether we were in person, like that beautiful day in the park, or moving through beautiful conversations over Zoom, the feeling was always the same after spending time with Gabe. There was that touch when you know it's an authentic connection with someone. You know you're talking about things that matter. And you just would always leave your heart wide open and this feeling of full of possibilities. And so these are the types of things that I want to remember, that I want to bring forward as a living legacy, so that the way that Gabe touched me continues on. And I'm just so much love to Alee and Gina.
Thank you, Johanna. Appreciate you sharing, and thank you for being here with us here today. So I'm going to allow Mingtong to run the anchor leg today. So before we get to Mingtong, we're going to come to Gabe's mother, Gina, Gabriel's mother. Gina, hopefully the last hour has informed you, if you didn't know already, that you've birthed a truly incredible human. And thank you for being here, and love to hear from you in this flow.
You know, if I had words yet, I just wasn't sure that I'd be able to speak. But after listening to everyone, you know, for a mother to hear people, so many people get it, like they got it. I got it the moment he was born. Gabriel was born, he was like a ray of light. He was born, it wasn't an easy birth. He was cesarean, it was a long, he doesn't rush, he didn't rush for that either. Long time coming in to this world. And the second he was put in my arms.
Hold on 1 second, Mom.
What?
A little bit louder.
Oh, the second he was put into my arms, I just looked at him. We had planned other names for him. My husband's name was Charles. We called him Chuck. I think he was thinking, oh, we'll have a little second one here. But I just looked at him and said, Gabriel. I just knew he was an angel from the second that I met him. And Chuck just smiled, and we agreed. And he lived his life like that from that day forward. He was a joy. He was an inspiration. He was kind. The teachers from school, I would get wonderful calls about a kind deed he did, who he chose first, so they wouldn't feel bad. He was wise, way behind his years, in kindness. He lived his life in kindness mostly, and that was like our religion almost. I felt such joy with him when he was young and growing up, and he had a great sense of humor. He was a lot of fun, Gabe. We had wonderful times, and he was a great friend. If he hadn't been my son, he would have been a great friend. He was a mentor to me and to all of my family. We, you know, even as a little kid, we enjoyed him. He as he grew older, he felt very excited about exploring new things. His path that he chose had a lot to do with his illness as a child and wanting to find a better way, and always caring that the better way wasn't just for him. It was to get out there and to do it for all. And that's how I feel. That's a legacy I'm hearing from everyone. I know that we're all going to carry Gabe. We're going to go forward with the legacy he wanted to leave. He was just a gentle, kind, compassionate leader. He never had an unkind word. I wish he would gossip a little. I used to say, come on, can't you tell me? Let's have a little story. Always a reason. He was gentle. My mother was a very gentle soul. I felt I was in this world. I was blessed to have that. Very similar to Gabe. His dad was like that. They were kind, gentle people, and to live in that environment was a blessing for me. And I somehow felt that Gabe would be here forever because he was so important. He was so kind, and I realized from listening to everyone and all the calls and letters I'm getting just what a difference he made. We have a world that's tough now, and you need people like Gabriel who see the bigger picture, who are kind and want to reach out. And I guess though his time had come, I kind of feel what Alee was saying, there was a completion. This was an unusual year. And just the fact that we ended up here, which was a very happy family place for us when we were young. My in-laws live here, and we had a lot of history here, and Gabe made sure to make sure that everyone he really loved got a chance to come down here in such a short time. The fact that he for a person that didn't rush, we had the apartment done. I mean, I do design work, so I helped him. We did FaceTime design, got it together really quickly. His sister came down. We all had opportunities to just share this space, which is why right now it feels like a little cocoon. I feel Gabe in here so much. But I mostly, you know, just from listening to everyone, just feel that the fact that Gabe's legacy will live on, that I believe everyone is going to internalize the good and the kindness of Gabe and just keep paying it forward. I know that he's always going to be here, and I will never be able to truly accept why he had to leave, because he was a good friend and my mentor and someone I really, like Alee, one of my favorite people. He was my person too. So I thank you all for sharing your thoughts and letting me into them and hear what you had to say. And I just hope that I can keep in touch and always hear stories, Gabe stories, because Gabriel, or actually, as Lenny was saying, I chose to call him Gabriel. I love the melody of the sound of the name. And I just felt that was him. Gabriel lived his life with grace and beauty and gentleness. And I hope to always hear stories about him. And as people continue doing things in his legacy, I hope I'm always know about it and informed about it. I just thank you for being all who you are. You all sound like wonderful, kind people. And that's it. I miss you, Gabriel, every day. I'll think about you. I love you.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for what you birthed into the world.
Thank you, James. Thank you, David.
All right, so yeah, the last few years, Gabe took a lot of work into his qigong practice, and that was inspired via digital video initially, but then in person. Master Mingtong Gu, who's on the line here. There were a number of interactions that Mingtong and I have had in Utah and in Florida, but also in Santa Fe at the Chi Center, which I know is one of Gabe's favorite places to be. We spent a week there about a year and a half ago with Kelly and a few others. That was, really, I think, the moment for us where it became clear to Gabe and I what the next phase of the mission was going to be. I'm excited to share that, that the momentum behind that is only more, in the last 2 weeks as the resources and karmic currency has come together. But Mingtong, I'm really grateful to have you here, and I'd love for you to share some of your experience of Gabe and perhaps lead us towards the end of the session.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Gina's mom, to hear from you directly. And that is I'm losing words, and really grateful to able to share this space of heart and honoring all our experience, but also deeper feeling and with each other. So thank you all for such deep sharing. And I'm very, very grateful able to have the time, have the direct connection with Gab in this life. And as everybody shared, when Gab showed up, and you instantly recognizing the surprise and the bigger than words, bigger than the expectation, bigger than what you can plan. And so he showed up same way, when we connected, and he showed up in the same way in the Qigong community. And he really represented this journey of a healer, journey of warriors, embody all the quality as we all recognized, and truly touched us, continuously going to touch us. And I have to say, you know, really feeling the sadness and the pain in our heart. And that is part of the healing. It's part of the opening of our heart to the mystery. And I feel in so many ways, as we remembered, even beyond our memory, and Gab have touched us. But also there's so many ways, I think, in a bigger ways in the mystery, he's going to touch us beyond any expectation. And as many of you have shared with me already directly, how surprised his presence is showing up in your field after his transition. And I'm feeling the same way. And it's like anytime when I feel want to connect with him, he's showing up very powerful way. So that's an incredible gift unfolding. I'm very grateful for that and inviting us all to connect to that mystery. So many experiences, I don't know where to start with. Just share one is we shared very intimately, spent a few days in Miami, and that's the place where Gab chose to pass on. And so just two of us hanging out. But one time we walking on the beach under the full moon, so I decided to jump into the ocean, start to swim. First, he's like, "You're crazy. What are you doing?" I said, "I think you're crazy too if you're coming with me." And he did. And it was so beautiful to see him become so childlike, so playful, and so joyfully just lost himself in the ocean. So think of this as also a metaphor for him to return to the ocean of light, ocean of the big universe. And one piece I do want to share is also in the after the surgery, even before the surgery, at least more than a year or so, I feel his heart is really lifted up. And he always able to, share his unconditional love with everyone. And yet he was quite aware of the burden inside of his heart. And no matter whether from this life or many lifetimes, and as human being, we all carry this burden. And he was very aware of that and was very fiercely willing to work with that, and same time sharing the unconditional love. And in the past, most current time, I feel this beautiful uplifting of his heart. The weight just dropped. It's like every time I talk to him, I feel his heart become lighter and lighter, to a point of this lightness, so beautifully embodied. And so in this session, when we're sharing that space of our heart, let's do a simple practice. If you like to join me, I will simply feel the space in your heart, whichever way you feel comfortable, connecting with God and His Spirit. So as Alee invited us, connecting with our heart, honoring all the experience when we think of God, with love, with all the feelings, sadness, compassion, and deeper, even pain, deeper mystery. and opening to the profound liberation Gabby is sharing with us, beyond our mind can understand. Allowing the pure energy of your big heart continuously awakening, opening. And if you like, you can join with us together, making the sound, allowing the vibration of the sound, activating the energy of the heart unconditionally in this beautiful celebration of Gab's life, legacy, grace, and unconditional love and the wisdom, truly the wisdom of the heart. So breathing deeply into your heart. Breathing deeply into your heart. Breathing deeply into your heart. Relaxing, noticing, and continuously activating the deeper dimension of your heart. All the emotion you're feeling in your own life with the connection of God, the known, the unknown, liberating to the pure consciousness. Breathing deeply. Breathing deeply. Breathing deeply. Again, we welcome the surprise. Continuously connecting with the pure energy, the pure energy of love, the pure energy of joy, the pure energy of wisdom. The third sound, allowing the energy of the heart, continuously awakening, opening, liberating to the consciousness, to the timelessness. As we heal ourselves, we also heal each other. When we connecting with the liberation of God, we also liberating ourselves. Think of the energies moving up from the heart to the heavenly gate, to the crown of your head, liberating to the oneness of the universe. Breathe in deeply. In this shared space of all connection, the known, the unknown, the space of mystery, the space of oneness, the space of divine presence, I'd like to offer this mantra from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition to bless, to purify all relationship, known, unknown. And that is one of profound passion, compassion of Gap Spirit. Om Banda Zadu Zamaya Manu Banaya Banda Zadu Dino Badi Zazu Membawa Zudu Gayo Membawa Zubu Gayo Membawa Nugadu Membawa Zawa Zade Membraya Zawa Goma Zadame Zadang Jiang Glong Om Bhagava Zawada Zagadali Dayo Banda Mame Manda Banda Bhavama Zamaya Zadu Om Banda Zadu Zamaya Manu Bandaya Banda Zadu Dindoba Nina Zuzu Membawa Zadu Gayo Membawa Nugadu Membawa Zawa Zade Membraya Zawa Goman Zadame Zadajam Glong Om Bhagava Zawada Zagadani Dayo Banda Mame Manza Banda Bhavama Zamaya Zadu. Without making one more sound, I think that's what Gabby is requesting this moment. We cannot complete the ceremony and play for a sound many of you mentioned, liberating the fear, more importantly, awakening all the wisdom capacity as who we are, the truth deep inside of us. May every step of your journey be the blessing for yourself, blessing of your loved ones, and blessing of humanity, blessing of all sentient beings. And that's our offering. That's also the words from Gab. And thank you everyone for your presence. And thank to our beloved Gab. We appreciate you, we love you. We continuously celebrating the legacy, the vision, the profound grace and wisdom in our shared journey.
Thank you, Mingtong. Thank you, Johanna. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Kelly and Lenny and Joshua and Alee and Gina. And if you're watching this, thank you for watching and taking the time to honor Gabe's legacy. You know, there's a ripple effect already from the life of Gabe and Gabriel. You can see that. You can see that it'll live on in the work of all of us. And I hope that if you're watching this, it's had as a profound impact on you as it has to all of us. If you'd like to honor Gabriel and this family in person, we are planning, there's a planned memorial in New York on June 22nd, and there'll be more details to follow from anyone on this call or the family. But for the meantime, thank you so much for being here and sending love to you, Gabriel, and to everyone whose life you touched.
James, we're just going to say one more thing.
Yes, Mingtong, thank you. That was beautiful and very meaningful. I felt it in my heart. I just wanted to say that I know that this is from the community of Gabe's work that most of you are coming from, but my family is in such appreciation from the second family he had, which was all of you that he worked with. I just wanted to send their love and good thoughts. My brother Marty and nephews, everyone who is in shock but in awe of all that he accomplished. You know, they knew him as Gabriel, you know, funny Gabriel, kind Gabriel, good uncle, good cousin, good nephew. He was always, you know, and everyone enjoyed him from the time he was born. He was funny. He had just a way with people. But I'm not sure everyone realized, because he was so modest, his legacy and his accomplishments. And this is a beautiful way for them to see that. And I know that they appreciate him even more for opening their minds to what he does now. I'm not sure everyone was quite aware of the extensive work that he did. So thank you for that also, and for just honoring him. He was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful boy, and we will carry his legacy.
Thank you all so much.